Have you ever felt like you had to sacrifice yourself just to hold a relationship together? Are you smiling on the outside while your heart is screaming enough? And the hardest truth of all, the more you give, the less they value you? Let me tell you something. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she has to wake up and realize being the nice girl isn't getting her anywhere. You keep bending over backward, stretching yourself thin, putting on a smile when you don't feel like smiling, saying yes when your whole being is begging to say no. And all the while you're thinking, maybe if I just love a little harder, give a little more sacrifice, a little deeper, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally appreciate me. Maybe they'll love me back. Maybe they'll treat me the way I deserve. But here's the hard truth. That's not how the world works. The more you give, the more they take. The more you sacrifice, the more they expect. And the moment you need something in return, the moment you finally pause and say, "What about me?" that's when you find out you were never really seen. You were never truly valued. You were just conveniently used. Because life doesn't reward those who let themselves be walked over. It doesn't bless those who keep making excuses for other people's disrespect. It's not the girl who keeps shrinking herself, biting her tongue, letting things slide. No, she doesn't get the respect she longs for. She gets overlooked. She gets dismissed. She gets drained. And she lies awake at night, wondering why no one ever shows up for her the way she shows up for everyone else. But listen closely. This is not about them. It's about you. It's about what you allow, what you tolerate, what you keep telling yourself is okay, even though deep down it never was. Somewhere along the way you were taught that being nice meant being quiet, that being kind meant staying silent, that love meant enduring anything no matter how much it hurt. But I'm here to shake you out of that lie. Because that is not love. That is not kindness. And it is definitely not strength. It's a slow erosion of your worth. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but your worth is not measured by how much pain you can endure. It's not in how much you can give before you break. It's not in how small you can shrink yourself to fit into someone else's life. There's a big difference between being a good woman and being a doormat. A good woman has boundaries. A good woman knows her worth. She walks with her head held high, not because she's arrogant, but because she understands something powerful. Her kindness is a gift, not a debt she owes to the world. And if you don't get that right, if you don't learn to draw the line, you'll keep attracting people who see your goodness not as something to cherish, but as something to use. Some of you have been saying, "I don't know why they treat me this way. I don't understand why people keep taking advantage of me." But let me tell you something, you teach people how to treat you. If you keep making excuses for disrespect, they'll keep disrespecting you. If you keep overextending yourself, they'll keep expecting it. If you keep settling for less, they'll never offer you more. This isn't about them changing, it's about you changing. It's about choosing to no longer be available for one-sided relationships. For people who only call when they need something. For situations that drain you more than they ever fill you. Some of you have spent years carrying other people's burdens. You've held their pain, cleaned up their messes, patched their wounds, and in the process you lost yourself. But what about you? What about your dreams? What about your joy? What about the life you were created to live? Not just survive, but truly live. You weren't put on this earth to be a background character in someone else's story. You were never meant to be just a stepping stone in someone else's journey. You have a voice, and that voice matters. There's nothing wrong with being kind. There's nothing wrong with being compassionate, but kindness without boundaries is self-betrayal. Love without standards is self-destruction. And if you don't respect yourself enough to say I deserve better, then don't expect anyone else to say it for you. You've got to stop. Stop waiting for people to recognize your worth. And start walking like someone who already knows it. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop stretching yourself thin for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Stop offering your presence like it's free admission to those who've already shown they don't value it. Because the moment you decide to stop being the nice girl, the one who says yes when she wants to say no, the one who tolerates chaos just to keep the peace, the one who gives her all and gets crumbs in return, that's the moment your life begins to shift. That's the moment you take your power back. That's the moment you step fully into who you were always meant to be. And hear me on this. Respect is not something you hand out like candy. It's not something you give away for free hoping someone will one day return the favor. No respect is earned. It is built on strength. It is grounded in self-worth. It is born from the quiet confidence of knowing exactly who you are and refusing to be anything less. Too many of you have been told that if you're nice, people will respect you. That if you're agreeable, people will value you. That if you just keep giving your time, your energy, your heart, eventually they'll see your worth. But here's the hard truth. The more you hand over your respect without requiring anything in return, the less people feel the need to give it back to you. And now you find yourself wondering, why do people keep taking advantage of me? Why do they keep crossing lines? Why do they treat me like an afterthought instead of a priority? Let me tell you why you've been too available. You've been too accommodating. You've let people come and go from your life as they pleased, without setting any standards, without requiring even basic decency, without demanding the respect you absolutely deserve. And here's the thing. When you give yourself away too easily, people start believing they don't have to work for you. A woman who carries herself with dignity doesn't beg for respect. She doesn't plead to be seen. She doesn't convince anyone of her worth. She moves with purpose. She speaks with authority. She doesn't entertain foolishness or drama. And when someone dares to play with her value, she doesn't argue. She doesn't chase. She doesn't demand. She walks away. Simple as that. Because she understands something that many of you have forgotten. The moment you allow disrespect you, invite it into your life. Some of you have been making excuses for people who have already shown you exactly who they are. You say, "Oh, they didn't mean it like that. Maybe they were just having a bad day. If I love them harder, maybe they'll change." Let me make something very clear. Disrespect does not need to be explained away. If someone truly values you, they'll show it. They'll be intentional. They'll be consistent. They'll make sure their actions match their words. And if they don't, if they keep testing your boundaries, if they keep pushing to see how much you'll tolerate, if they keep treating you like an option instead of a priority, when someone can't see your worth, you don't sit there and beg them to change. You don't plead for better treatment. You show them the door. Because when you start carrying yourself with confidence, with quiet strength, with unshakable dignity, when you stop tolerating the nonsense, when you start demanding the respect you deserve, something shifts. People begin to see you differently. They start realizing you are not someone to be toyed with. If they want access to your world, they have to show up with something real. They have to come correct, or they don't come at all. And I need you to truly hear this. You set the tone for how people treat you. If you keep tolerating inconsistency, you'll keep receiving it. If you continue to accept disrespect, you'll continue to experience it. And if you keep lowering your standards just to keep someone in your life, then don't be surprised when they treat you like you're disposable. There is power in knowing your worth. There is power in standing your ground. There is power in looking someone in the eye and saying, "I am not the one." And some of you need to tap into that power. Because for far too long you've been settling for less than you were created for. You've been shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You've been softening your voice so you don't come across as too much. But let me say this loud and clear. Anyone who can't handle your light, anyone who gets intimidated by your confidence, anyone who tries to break you down instead of build you up, they were never for you in the first place. A woman who knows her worth doesn't lose sleep over people who don't respect her. She doesn't waste her time trying to convince someone to treat her right. She doesn't chase after love, after friendship, After validation? Because she knows one unshakable truth. What is meant for her will never require her to beg for it. So I need you to stop handing out your respect like it's free. Stop entertaining people who do not honor you. Stop believing that if you just keep being nice one day, they'll magically see your worth. That's not how it works. Respect is not something you give away without boundaries. It is earned. And the first person who needs to start earning your respect is you. Let me leave you with this. There's a big difference between being kind and being weak. And the line between the two, that's where your power lives. Some of you have spent your whole lives trying to be the nice girl, the agreeable one, the one who never makes waves. You were taught that if you're just kind enough, patient enough, understanding enough, people will eventually see your heart. They'll appreciate you. They'll treat you the way you deserve to be treated. But let's be honest for a second. Has that ever actually worked? How many times have you given and given and given, only to find yourself burned out, overlooked, disrespected? The problem has never been your kindness. The problem is how you've been using it. Because kindness is not about shrinking yourself. It's not about letting people cross your boundaries. It's not about pouring yourself out endlessly with nothing in return. And it's certainly not about allowing yourself to be mistreated just to prove you have a good heart. No, that's not kindness. That's fear. That's insecurity. That's the belief that if you don't overextend yourself, if you don't break yourself for others, somehow you won't be worthy of love. But hear me loud and clear tonight. You were not put on this earth to be anyone's doormat. You were not created to be used. You are not here to spend your life trying to prove your worth to people who never even bothered to recognize it. Some of you have confused kindness with passivity. You think keeping the peace means staying silent, even when your soul is screaming? You think being loving means tolerating behavior that violates your spirit? You think that if you just give a little more, stretch a little farther, wait a little longer, then maybe, just maybe, they'll finally treat you right. But let me ask you something. How many times have you let things slide only to watch people keep pushing your boundaries? How many times have you forgiven, excused, overlooked, and still ended up feeling resentful, used, and invisible? That's not kindness. That's a lack of self-respect. Because real kindness, the kind that uplifts, not erodes. It is built on strength. It is rooted in confidence. It flows from knowing who you are and refusing to compromise that for anyone. A truly kind woman does not tolerate nonsense. She does not entertain disrespect. She does not allow herself to be drained by people who only know how to take. Why? Because she understands something powerful. Her kindness is a gift, not a weakness. Her heart is precious, and she guards it with wisdom. She knows not everyone deserves access to it. Some of you have been bending over backward for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. You've been carrying the weight of relationships, friendships, even jobs. All in the name of being a good person. But here's the truth that might sting a little. A good person has boundaries. A good person knows how to say no and mean it. A good person does not destroy herself while trying to build everyone else up. If you don't start learning the difference between kindness and weakness, you will keep attracting the wrong people, the ones who come not to pour into you, but to pull from you until there's nothing left. Because people can sense it. They can tell when you don't value yourself. They can see when you're willing to be walked on just to keep the peace. And those who seek to take advantage, they absolutely will. They will take your time. They will take your kindness. They will take your energy. And when you finally gather the courage to stand up for yourself, to say enough is enough, they'll turn on you. They'll say you're selfish. They'll call you mean. They'll whisper, "You've changed." But hear me, that's not your problem. That's just their reaction to losing control over you. Because the moment you stop tolerating disrespect, the moment you stop chasing validation from people who were never meant to hold your value, that's the moment they realize they can no longer use you. And yes, I know. Some of you feel guilty for choosing yourself. You feel guilty for saying no. You feel guilty for no longer being available 24/7. But let me gently ask you this. When was the last time you put yourself first without apology? When was the last time you made a decision purely because it made you happy? When was the last time you walked away from something that drained you and didn't feel bad about it afterward? Because that is what real kindness looks like. It's not about giving until you are empty. It's about giving from a place of wholeness, not depletion. So hear me tonight. Stop confusing kindness with weakness. Stop letting people mistake your patience for passivity. Stop believing that being nice means you have to be a pushover. Because a truly strong woman is not one-dimensional. She is both kind and firm. She is both loving and unshakable. She is both compassionate and fearless. And the moment you step into that version of yourself, the moment you finally realize that your worth doesn't come from how much you can tolerate, but from how deeply you respect yourself, that is the moment everything begins to change. That's when you stop being taken for granted. That's when you stop bending until you break. That's when you take your power back, not in a loud, angry outburst, but in a quiet, steady decision. No more. There comes a time in life when you have to stop explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds about you. You have to stop proving your worth to people who've already decided not to see it. Some of you have been twisting yourself in knots, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, trying to get people to understand you, trying to be heard, trying to be seen, trying to be valued. But let me tell you something that may set you free. If someone cannot recognize your worth on their own, then there is nothing you can say, nothing you can do, no effort you can give that will magically open their eyes. You were not placed on this earth to beg for understanding. You were not created to convince people to see your value. Because the truth is, people will believe what they want to believe. And the more you try to explain yourself to the wrong ones, the more you will feel trapped, caught in an endless cycle of over-explaining, over-giving, and overcompensating for people who were never meant to walk with you in the first place. And let's be honest, some of you are not just afraid of being misunderstood. You're terrified of it. So, you shrink yourself. You water down your truth. You stay quiet when everything inside you is begging to speak up. You dim your light to make others feel more comfortable in your presence. But here's the hard truth. People who are committed to misunderstanding you will never hear you. You can spell it out. You can break it down line by line. You can offer every fact, every detail, every ounce of clarity. And still they will choose to see what they want to see. And do you know what? That is not your burden to carry. Some of you have wasted too much time and far too much emotional energy trying to fix other people's perceptions of you. You've been rewriting your story in your head, editing your words, softening your tone, all in an effort to control the narrative. But it's time to understand something powerful and freeing. What people think of you is not your responsibility. How they choose to interpret your actions, what they say about you behind closed doors, the assumptions they make when you're not in the room, that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And the moment you finally release that exhausting need to be understood by everyone, that's the moment you set yourself free. Some of you are stuck right now. Stuck in relationships and friendships and workplaces where you feel like you're constantly defending who you are. You keep explaining yourself. You keep trying to prove that you're good enough, that you're worthy, that you're not whatever label they've placed on you. But let me gently ask you this. Why are you fighting so hard for a seat at a table that was never built with you in mind? Why are you pouring your energy into being accepted by people who don't even value the weight of your presence? Because here's the truth. If someone truly values you, if someone genuinely respects you, they won't need a 10-point presentation to believe in your heart. They won't demand explanation after explanation to trust your intentions. They won't make you jump through emotional hoops just to be seen. No, because when someone truly sees you, they see your character, they see your integrity, they see your consistent actions. And that is enough. Let me make something crystal clear. Walking away from people who refuse to understand you does not mean you are bitter. It does not mean you're angry. It does not mean you're holding on to resentment. It simply means this. You are no longer willing to fight for a place in someone's life when they haven't even recognized your value. It means you finally realize that your peace. It means you finally realize that your peace matters more than their approval. It means you've decided to stop pouring your time, your energy, your soul into people who refuse to look beyond their own narrow view. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop begging to be seen, the moment you let go of the idea that everyone has to understand you, that's the moment you take your power back. Why? Because the truth is, the right people won't need the long explanation. The right people won't second-guess your heart. They won't demand that you shrink just to make sense to them. They will recognize your light. They will respect your space. And they will honor your truth. Those are the people you focus on. Those are the ones who deserve your time. So hear me when I say this. There is power in walking away. There is strength in knowing when something or someone no longer serves you. When something no longer adds joy or value to your life. When something is slowly draining the very essence of who you are, and yet some of you are still holding on, clinging to people, clinging to titles, clinging to relationships that are breaking you, not building you. You've been telling yourself a story that says if I just try a little harder, if I just love them a little deeper, if I just give a little more, then maybe, just maybe, things will change. But deep down beneath the justifications and second chances, you already know the truth. Some people are not meant to stay. Some connections, no matter how beautiful they once were, are not meant to last. And some seasons of your life are meant to end, no matter how badly you wish they wouldn't. But instead of letting go, you cling. You hold on, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of having to start over. Fear of what people might think or say. Fear that maybe, just maybe, you're the one who's wrong. But let me ask you something honest. How much longer will you ignore what your soul already knows? How much longer will you let your spirit ache while your heart keeps making excuses for people who stopped showing up a long time ago? Because here's the truth. When something is not meant for you, no amount of force, no amount of fixing, no amount of effort will ever make it fit. And still, some of you have people in your life who only know how to they take your energy. They take your kindness. They take your love. They take your time. But what do they give? What do they pour back into you? You're standing there holding a pitcher of everything you are pouring into empty cups that never fill, hoping that one day, just one day, they'll finally turn around and do the same for you. But they won't. And that's not bitterness. That's reality. Because people who truly value you, they would never let you keep giving without receiving. They would never stand by and watch you drain yourself just to make them feel comfortable. They would never ask you to trade your peace so they can protect their convenience. And yet here you are, still making excuses. Still telling yourself, maybe if I just give them one more chance. Maybe if I just prove my worth a little more. Maybe if I just stay patient, they'll finally see me. They see your integrity. They see your consistent actions. And that is enough. Let me make something crystal clear. Walking away from people who refuse to understand you does not mean you are bitter. It does not mean you're angry. It does not mean you're holding on to resentment. It simply means this. You are no longer willing to fight for a place in someone's life when they haven't even recognized your value. It means you finally realize that your peace. It means you finally realize that your peace matters more than their approval. It means you've decided to stop pouring your time, your energy, your soul into people who refuse to look beyond their own narrow view. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop begging to be seen, the moment you let go of the idea that everyone has to understand you, that's the moment you take your power back. Why? Because the truth is, the right people won't need the long explanation. The right people won't second-guess your heart. They won't demand that you shrink just to make sense to them. They will recognize your light. They will respect your space. And they will honor your truth. Those are the people you focus on. Those are the ones who deserve your time. So hear me when I say this. There is power in walking away. There is strength in knowing when something or someone no longer serves you. When something no longer adds joy or value to your life. When something is slowly draining the very essence of who you are. And yet some of you are still holding on. Clinging to people. Clinging to titles. Clinging to relationships that are breaking you, not building you. You've been telling yourself a story. A story that says if I just try a little harder, if I just love them a little deeper, if I just give a little more, then maybe, just maybe, things will change. But deep down beneath the justifications and second chances, you already know the truth. Some people are not meant to stay. Some connections, no matter how beautiful they once were, are not meant to last. And some seasons of your life are meant to end, no matter how badly you wish they wouldn't. But instead of letting go, you cling. You hold on, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of having to start over. Fear of what people might think or say. Fear that maybe, just maybe, you're the one who's wrong. But let me ask you something honest. How much longer will you ignore what your soul already knows? How much longer will you let your spirit ache while your heart keeps making excuses for people who stopped showing up a long time ago? Because here's the truth. When something is not meant for you, no amount of force, no amount of fixing, no amount of effort will ever make it fit. And still, some of you have people in your life who only know how to take... They take your energy. They take your kindness. They take your love. They take your time. But what do they give? What do they pour back into you? You're standing there holding a pitcher of everything you are pouring into empty cups that never fill, hoping that one day, just one day, they'll finally turn around and do the same for you. But they won't. And that's not bitterness. That's reality. Because people who truly value you, they would never let you keep giving without receiving. They would never stand by and watch you drain yourself just to make them feel comfortable. They would never ask you to trade your peace so they can protect their convenience. And yet here you are, still making excuses. Still telling yourself, maybe if I just give them one more chance. Maybe if I just prove my worth a little more. Maybe if I just stay patient, they'll finally see me. To leave. Waiting for a sign, a confirmation, a voice that says, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to finally break free. And if no one has ever told you that, let me be the one who does. You do not need permission to protect your peace. You do not need approval to guard your heart. You do not need anyone's validation to finally choose yourself. Because truthfully, you've stayed long enough. You've tried long enough. You've given enough. Now it's time. Time to do what your soul has been whispering for far too long. Time to let go and move forward. Some of you have been giving people unlimited access to your life, to your time, to your energy, to your heart. And these people, they've done nothing to earn it. They walk in like they own the place. Take what they need. Drain what you have. Disrupt your peace. And leave without a second thought. You've allowed them to treat your life like a revolving door. They show up when it's convenient, disappear when it's not. They treat you like an option, while you keep treating them like a priority. And yet you keep allowing it. You keep excusing it. You keep telling yourself, Maybe this time will be different. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt me. Maybe I'm expecting too much. But let me ask you something from the heart. How much longer will you keep lowering your standards just to accommodate people who refuse to rise to meet them? Some of you are afraid to set boundaries because deep down you believe this lie. If I start saying no, they'll leave. If I stop being available all the time, they won't want me anymore. If I stop giving over, explaining over, sacrificing, I'll lose them. But hear me. You should never have to overgive to be loved. You should never have to twist yourself into 1,000 versions just to be accepted. Because real love, real respect, real relationships, they do not require you to lose yourself in order to keep them. And if someone only stays when you're overextending, if someone only values you when you're breaking yourself to meet their needs, if someone only appreciates you when you're people-pleasing, you see, when you allow people to stay only because you're afraid to set boundaries, you're not being kind, you're being depleted. Because the truth is, they don't love you. They love what they can get from you. Some of you, whether you realize it or not, have trained people to believe they can do whatever they want, and you'll still be there. They can disrespect you. They can ignore your needs. They can take your kindness for granted. And yet you show up. You still answer their calls. You still make yourself available at their convenience, not yours. And do you know why that keeps happening? Because you haven't set the standard. You haven't drawn the line. You haven't shown them what you will and will not tolerate. You haven't made it clear that you are not someone who can be used, manipulated, or treated like a backup plan. But it's time for you to hear this, and hear it deeply. You teach people how to treat you. Not with your words, but with your choices. With what you allow. With what you excuse. With what you keep tolerating. Some of you are long overdue for letting certain people go. Not because you stopped loving them. Not because you've become cold or closed off. But because they've shown you clearly, repeatedly, through their words, their actions, and their inconsistencies that they do not value you. And every time you continue to welcome them back, every time you justify their behavior, every time you look away from the red flags, you are quietly sending a message. It's okay to treat me like I don't matter. But listen, it's not okay. And you know that. So maybe the better question now is,